Hello and good day, everyone. Meteorologist Mark Muller here for MeteoMark's Weather. We have Invest 94L out here into the Western Caribbean, and most importantly, here is Invest 95L. There's 94, and there is 95. Yes, both have a chance to become tropical storms. It seems, however, that 95 has the best shot of becoming not only a tropical storm, but also a hurricane. In fact, by early next week, we could be looking at a major hurricane into the Eastern Caribbean. Which islands could be most impacted, and what direction could this potential hurricane be headed? Let's get into it. And if we look at Invest 95 out here, you can see it right here in our red cone. Look at that big ball of convection forming just around the center of circulation. All right, so we're starting off here with the European model, and we'll transition over to the GFS. So here we go. This is Invest 95L. As we go through the next couple days, you can see it really showing up nicely here, showing up as a tropical storm here onto the European model. So as we continue to go out here in time towards the 30th, you can see it's really starting to tighten up here. So here's Grenada and Barbados and Trinidad Tobago. Look at this, right in line with you as we get towards July 1st into July 2nd here. It almost looks like there's dual systems here, and there actually is. There's a weaker system behind this, but will this come through as a tropical storm or a hurricane? I'm almost thinking this is the potential for a hurricane here as we go through the southern Lesser Antilles through July 1st into July 2nd. Now, it does seem like the European model is bringing this through a little bit further to the south. This model is notorious for this, and it does happen to have a pretty good track record here. But it almost looks like the European is taking this a little further to the south as well as weaker. However, weaker by any stretch of the imagination is more weaker than the GFS. It still looks like a hurricane or high-end tropical storm, and then it takes it in the direction of Nicaragua and Honduras here, which, as you know, historically, especially for Honduras, can be a total tremendous, devastating rain event. This is towards July 5th here. So look how close it takes it to Jamaica. Jamaica does get the outer bands on this model run, as well as the Cayman Islands, but this brings it inland right over Honduras, which would be a terrible case scenario here because of all the mountainous terrain and the mudslides that would occur. And then that looks to continue towards the Bay of Campeche here. Look at that, towards July 7th. Now, what's happening on the Euro with Invest 94L? Well, here it is, moving away from, the Central Caribbean, only provided, there were some outer bands there near Jamaica. But as that heads inland across the Yucatan, the 29th into the 30th, I think it's really in the southwestern Gulf is where it has the chance to become some sort of tropical system as we continue out in time, and then landfall right around June 30th into July 1st, and providing, unfortunately, those same areas of Mexico with flooding rains. Now, as we go out into the rest of the Atlantic here, there is our system, our potential hurricane, tightly wound around the Lesser Antilles, heading due westward. The European model just takes this due westward. And as we continue towards July 5th, 6th, and 7th, look at the intertropical convergence zone out here. It just continues to explode. All right, so for our GFS here, this is where things really get interesting. So it's a big ball of convection out here. As we continue through Friday into Saturday, over the next couple days, this is likely becoming a tropical storm, really showing up nicely here on the GFS model. This out ahead of it towards St. Lucia here, Barbados, Grenada, and Trinidad and Tobago. This is a little tropical wave that's also going to produce some heavy rains and thunder showers here, maybe some gusty winds. But the big story is going to be our potential tropical storm, maybe morphing here into hurricane, showing up our second system trailing just behind it here. Look at this. This is kind of crazy how the close proximity of these storms, GFS taking this a little further to the north. So Trinidad, Tobago, you're not completely out of the woods, but the GFS taking this towards St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Barbados. Look at this, and heading into the east, this comes right through right around July 1st here. Now, as we head towards July 2nd, here's Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Dominican Republic, And over here to the left, there's Jamaica and the Cayman Islands just off the screen here. So, if we look at the placement of the high pressure, at this point, it doesn't seem like this high is really steering this too much. The steering currents become a little weaker over here. It was steering it towards the Lesser Antilles, but once it gets to the Central Caribbean and it becomes a stronger hurricane, at this point, the steering currents are weaker. So it will usually have a tendency, if this strengthens, to veer a little bit more towards the north and the east. And that's what the GFS is doing. In fact, if you look by July 3rd here, the GFS is bringing this up closer to the island of Hispaniola, right almost in line with Jamaica here. And then at the last minute, we get an area of high pressure starting to develop right around Bermuda here, and that starts to push it more towards the north or the west again. So this is something, it's all about the timing of these high pressure systems. And the fact that the steering currents will be pretty weak out here into the Western Caribbean. The GFS is showing a very close hit here to Jamaica. This is right around July 3rd into July 4th. In fact, it would show that the eye of this storm would be passing just to the south of Jamaica, with the worst side of the storm passing just over Jamaica. So this is July 4th here. And then right behind it, if that weren't enough here, we have another system trailing just on its heels here. So we got a dual threat potential here. And then as we continue westward here towards July 5th and the 6th, yeah, the Yucatan may be in the crosshairs here, and then there's our system trailing behind it. It kind of heads towards Hispaniola, and as you know, most systems that move right over Hispaniola really have a hard time. But as we focus on our potential hurricane here making landfall just south of Cancun, and look at that, crossing right over into the Gulf of Mexico, our last couple frames. Yeah, that's pretty ominous. And as we look behind it, it looks pretty active. I wanted to show you our HMON hurricane model here. Look at this. So this is one of our actual hurricane models. We can take a look. Let me just stop it here and we'll go into motion. 986 millibars. Let's see which island change this takes it close to. Look at this. This is 966 millibars. So this model in particular, bringing this really intensifying 962 right through St. Vincent. And wow, this is, yeah, just south of Barbados. It's going to be really close here. It's a very tightly wound circulation, 960 millibars. So this could be a very formidable hurricane when it moves through St. Vincent, this area just south of St. Lucia, and the last frame that we have just south of Puerto Rico, 960 millibar hurricane. All right, so as we take a look at our other hurricane model, HWRF model, let's take a look. As we go throughout Friday into Saturday, you can see the storm lining up here, 988 millibars by the 30th, so right over the weekend, becoming not only a tropical storm, but there it is, 984 millibars, 976. This is July 1st at 8 a.m. Here it is approaching. Looks like it's a little bit south of the HMON model here, but as we continue to go out in time, yeah, this is further to the south. 962 millibars, coming right between St. Vincent and Grenada here. So this is going to be close. Being that it's a very tight wound circulation, there's still going to be impacts further out, you know, the outer feeder bands, but please stay tuned. One little wobble could mean your island gets hit and the other one doesn't. So please stay tuned. And look at this. Look how much further to the south. 956 millibars. Here is Puerto Rico way up here, and here's the northern coast of South America. So this heading in the direction of what looks to be, there's Jamaica over on the northwest corner of the screen. All right, so as we look at Invest 94L out here into the Western Caribbean, as we head towards Friday into Saturday, crossing the Yucatan, plenty of moisture emerging here into the Gulf right around 5 p.m. on Saturday. I think the system stands the best chance of development as we get over here into the Bay of Campeche. This has been happening again and again with each successive system. Let me just zoom out there so you can get a good bird's eye view. This is July 1st. Landfall seems to be south of Mexico, maybe a few showers clipping Brownsville, Texas, but most of this seems to be in eastern Mexico and then trailing inland. Plenty of moisture flooding those same areas that saw the previous couple of tropical systems. And then behind it, there's where we're dealing with our hurricane. We could be looking at another tropical wave. And as we follow behind that, there's that next tropical wave falling right through the Lesser Antilles, right towards Hispaniola. We'll have to continue to watch for that. And then the intertropical convergence zone, as we continue in time out here, our last couple screenshots shows a massive tropical wave coming off the coast of Africa. But one thing that is disturbing is the intensity scale. Yes, this thing is likely going to head up through, look at 48 hours, we're into tropical storm, and then by 72 hours, we're into hurricane here. And look at this, heads all the way up to many of the models predicting a Category 3 hurricane here within early next week. And of course, with Invest 95L, a very tight range of models here. Look how tight this is. There is unanimous agreement that this is definitely heading towards the Caribbean. So as we take a look at the GFS here for dry air, yes, you have all of this dry air just north of our Invest 95L. That's with the Saharan dust. But it looks like at this point it stays well to the north. Look at that, 985 millibar low. This is by Sunday, June 30th. Look at that, 972 millibars approaching the Lesser Antilles Monday, July 1st here. So, will dry air really entrain into the system? It really is not looking that way. You can see just behind it, this next system being very unaffected by this as well. Another tropical wave, and by this time our Invest 94L, whatever it's become, is well inland to Mexico. No dry air to speak of over in this region. So look at this. Let's just back this up just a few. So 968 millibars just south of the Virgin Islands here. It does weaken a little bit with this next system right on its heels. Another big tropical wave here. Plenty of moisture, even at mid layers. You can see that dry air from the Saharan dust following these systems just behind them. And you can see the GFS kind of weakening this storm as it heads into the Western Caribbean. That's kind of curious. We'll have to see if those trends last. But another landfall here in Yucatan, and then heading towards, wow, look at this run, showing just towards potentially South Texas and northern Mexico. This is by July 8th. So if we take a look at our European model here, there is our Invest 95L. Plenty of dust to the north. In fact, it's picking up on dust here into the Eastern Caribbean as well, into the mid and upper layers here. But as we put this out here in time, you can see by Sunday, June 30th, European model keeping this a slightly weaker storm a little bit further to the north here. Let's get that out of the way. There we go. So as we continue westward here, July 1st, you can see there's our two systems showing up. European model is weaker and further south with this system. So that's why I haven't put Trinidad and Tobago completely out of the woods, but I still think the worst will pass just north of you, especially towards St. Vincent area. And then as we continue to go out here in time, July 3rd and 4th, taking it right towards Honduras and Nicaragua. Look at that dry air, though, following just behind it. What happens to that wave behind it? Let's take a look. Yeah, the European model does take it right towards Hispaniola as well. And as the models pretty much know, once a storm gets over Hispaniola, it's really difficult to regenerate back. And then right on its heels is this big Saharan dust at mid-layers and two more big tropical waves out here. But look at all of the dry air here into the Gulf at mid to upper layers. And of course, that system making landfall heading well inland to Central America. And intertropical convergence zone still looks active out here, though. So as we head into the Caribbean, yeah, there's Invest 94L. Is this thing going to develop? It's possible. Whether it does or not doesn't really matter. Let's just back this up because the next one's what's Invest 95. Look at this. So we're going to be dealing with lots of rain. This is through Tuesday. I know Jamaica and the Cayman Islands are right on the edge here. You're getting missed for the most part, unfortunately, but west of you, towards the Yucatan, this is where you'll be picking up 80 to 100 millimeters. That's a good solid 3.5 to 4 inches of rain. Now, watch what happens here. This is the potential path with Invest 95L. By this point, it'll likely be a tropical storm or even a hurricane. It's going to come very close to Jamaica here with these rainfall totals. Look at this, 100 to 150 plus, even some 200. That's crazy. That's 4 to 8 inches plus. So as we head into the Eastern Caribbean, Invest 94L is on its way out. What we're going to be watching is potentially our next tropical storm or hurricane. It is going to pummel a tremendous amount of moisture here, obviously, through the Lesser Antilles, depending on the exact track of that. Even some outer bands affecting the Northeast Caribbean islands here, so watch out. Where this hurricane does make landfall, 100 to 200 millimeters is not out of the question, 4 to 8 inch plus. And for the tropics here, Caribbean, I wanted to show you something. This is the GFS. This is actually with the GFS track of what becomes of Invest 95. Look at to the north here. This would cut right across Jamaica. This would bring you 125 to as much as 200 millimeters plus of rainfall. That's a solid 4.5 to 8.5 inches of rain. And look into the Eastern Caribbean here with your GFS model. I wanted to show you, look at that. Yeah, so the GFS definitely is farther to the north here with our big, what happens to Invest 95L. Look at the areas that get hit. Could be seeing upwards of 200 millimeters of rainfall right in that 7, 8, 9, 10-inch range. And Derek Rentschler from Lebanon County, Pennsylvania. Look at the severe thunderstorm that happened on June 26th here. Look at those ominous clouds. This has been a sight across much of the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast the last couple weeks. We've had a lot of tremendously bad weather, and you can see there, look at that. You can see all the texturing in those clouds. Those are some very low-hanging severe weather clouds. Nice captures there, Derek from Lebanon County, Pennsylvania. So for our severe weather for Friday, most of it's going to be bottled up here across the Central Plains and parts of the Midwest. A slight risk of severe weather, damaging wind, large hails, and isolated tornadoes. All right, so as we head into Saturday, this is where the severe weather is, Ohio and western Pennsylvania, and a marginal risk here into the green, so watch out. Damaging wind, large hail, and isolated tornadoes. All right, as we continue Thursday night into Friday here, we are looking at nice clear conditions across much of the east, with the exception for some stronger storms around South Carolina here, parts of the Gulf Coast. And then we have that severe weather outbreak up here into the northern plains and the upper Midwest. Look at that. The Dakotas getting slammed overnight. That heading eastward towards Minnesota and parts of Missouri and Iowa here, thankfully weakening for the most part. Showers and thunderstorms continuing as this frontal boundary stalls out with plenty of tropical moisture. You can see we're eking out a really nice Friday here across parts of the Ohio Valley, the Northeast, Southeast Canada here, all the way down the Appalachians here until we get to about 7 p.m. Look what's happening. Lots of shower and thunderstorm activity here, even South Florida getting in on the act of it as well. Another severe weather day here across the Midwest. And then, of course, clouds spreading eastward just in time for the weekend. Look at this as we head into 2 a.m. Saturday morning. Look what's heading for you in the Ohio Valley into the Northeast. Yeah, you're going to be waking up to showers and thunderstorms here. Let me just back that up just a few frames. Look at Cleveland down to Dayton, Akron, Erie. This is 11 a.m. Saturday morning. This is terrible. I'm sorry to say, especially if you've been working all week, waiting for an opportunity. Look at this. We could have a severe weather situation, especially in some of these areas. And then later on in the day, as we spread to the Northeast here on the last couple frames. Now, across the Southeast here, we have plenty of tropical moisture. Let me just back it up here. So as we continue throughout the rest of Saturday, yeah, showers and thunderstorms, maybe as far west here as Houston and New Orleans. That'll bring you some beneficial rain and maybe cool you off a bit. And even areas up here into parts of the Appalachians, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, could get some pop-up showers and thunderstorms. Look at this into Canada, though. You could have a squall line all the way up here into parts of Ontario and Quebec with the low-pressure system. So some of these storms could get strong. All right, so picking up synoptically here where we left off with our mesoscale models as we head into the weekend. Yeah, it's just in time for Saturday here. Look at the Ohio Valley into the Northeast. I'll get into it, Southeast Canada, with your Canadian weather outlook shortly, just a little bit later in this video. Look at this, the 29th at 11 p.m. Saturday evening. It's just looking like a total washout here across much of the Northeast into New England here. Look at that. That low heading right up the St. Lawrence Valley towards Sunday. still dealing with showers and thunderstorms. Our next system, as we zoom out here, you can see producing an area of severe weather across much of the central and southern plains here. Most of Texas staying pretty dry, though. And look at towards the 30th. We get some tropical moisture meeting up with that system across Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi, even the Carolinas here. So we're going to come together to bring some big beneficial rains here across parts of the southeast. And as we continue out in time, that front stalls here. This is July 1st. Look at here across the lakes in the northeast, though, in southeast Canada. High pressure builds in, you guessed it, just in time for Monday when everybody has to go back to work. And then as we head towards July 3rd, here's July. Yeah, look what's coming for July 4th here. Ohio Valley, Northeast, New England. You guessed it. It's time for a day off, and that's what you get right there. Lots of rain and thunderstorms, even some severe weather across the Ohio and Mississippi River valleys. And as we head towards the 5th, if you have the 5th off, we're just continuing with a very active weather pattern here. What is this off the screen? This is with that frontal boundary. You have to watch these this time of year. You could have something spin up that's tropical. But nevertheless, we'll continue to watch it here. And as we go towards the 6th into the 7th, look at how stormy this is. This is going to bring, another stormy. Let me see, the 7th. Yeah, that's going to be the tail end of a long 4th of July weekend. So, yeah, that's wonderful, isn't it? We'll be looking at, if you have a 4-day weekend for 4th of July, we'll be looking at plenty of showers and thunderstorms. How about that? All right, so precipitation amounts here, we're looking pretty wet here this weekend. There across the northeast, parts of the Ohio Valley, and parts of the southeast as well, with some of that tropical moisture and a frontal boundary that'll be draped across the area. But that is going to be the big story. Severe weather into parts of the Midwest, and then stretching eastward here. So most areas will pick up about 1.5 to 2.5 inches of rain with locally higher amounts. Look at all that tropical moisture. Even North Carolina, Outer Banks area picking up close to 3.5, 4 inches of rain. All right, so let's take a look at Canadian weather here. Can I get it better for you than the American weather? Well, let's see. Let's see if your luck is any better here in the Canada. I'm rooting for you up here, but don't be disappointed. Look at this severe weather as we continue over the next couple days, as we continue into Friday. Look at Southeast Canada, though, with the exception of this low, this pesky low around New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, a few showers and clouds. That moves towards Newfoundland as we head later in the day, but look at that nice clearing trend for southern Quebec and Ontario here, and much of central and western Canada as well. We're just dealing with this storm in eastern Ontario and Quebec until we get to the weekend. Yeah, you're as unlucky as the northeast U.S. Severe weather all the way up into southern Ontario and Quebec. That's about the only show in town as this system moves east for Sunday. That's moving towards Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, southern Quebec here, and then up towards the Canadian Maritimes here. But high pressure builds in just in time for going back to work. Yeah, I know. That's our luck here in the States. But as we head towards July 3rd, look at this. We try to get the storm track a little bit further to the north up towards Hudson Bay. And look at this. Most of Canada's looking pretty quiet. So if you have outdoor plans, until we get to about the 3rd into the 4th, we start to get not only a few systems from the States here dragging a cold front northeastward here, but a return flow bringing some precipitation, heavy rains up through the plain states here, and then another storm exiting the U.S. into southern Ontario and Quebec, and that's right around July 6th. Here into the western Pacific, Invest 98W did not last long. In fact, it's really crickets out here. Let me just go out here in time. Philippines, you got a lot of showers and thunderstorms. That's good to cool you off. The intertropical convergence zone, yeah, there's a lot of showers and thunderstorm activity with some tropical waves, but they don't look that impressive. Monsoon season continuing up here from Vietnam all the way up to southeast China to Japan. So we're continuing to round out June here with lots of moisture up here towards Japan. Look at here across the Philippines, lots of tropical moisture, but look at this. We had through the first week of July here. Yeah, you got some heavy rains here in the Philippines, streaming northeastward here, and then the intertropical convergence zone, but there really isn't a whole lot happening. I got plenty more weather for you in just a moment, but take a look at my affiliate. Do you want some awesome maps? check this out. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. All right, so temperatures as we head through this rest of this weekend to the weekend. You can see the heat building across the southern plains here, but look at these cool shots of air up here across the Midwest and the Great Lakes and Northeast 70s, which is nice Saturday. But yeah, you are going to have to contend with stormy weather up here, especially into parts of the eastern Ohio Valley, Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic. Look at, though, massive heat wave building across Texas here, Mid-Atlantic, mid to upper 90s as we head into Sunday. Look at this. You see evidence that we're actually going to start to see a big cool down here. Look at these 70s. Big pool. There's 70 there in Chicago. Here into Monday, 74 in Cleveland, 75 in Rochester. You can see that pool of the coolest air. Is this going to last for 4th of July week? I don't think so. Look what's building out here. Lots of upper 90s, and look at that triple-digit heat out here into Texas and Oklahoma. Here's July 3rd, the day just before the 4th. Look at that. We're pushing into the upper 80s, and then right around 90 there in Pittsburgh. Extended outlook from our hometown viewers, Binghamton to Scranton, Upper Susquehanna River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. Yeah, of course, Friday is going to be nice and sunny up near 80, but, you know, the weekend comes, and here we go. Showers and thunderstorms likely. Some storms may contain damaging wind, large hail. Watch out Saturday. It's not looking like a good day. Upper 70s. Into Sunday, showers and thunderstorms likely. Once again, this weekend is another washout. And guess what? You guessed it, for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. Guess what? Sunny skies. It's time to go back to work. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget, it's MeteoMark.com. And don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks, everyone. Share that video. Subscribe if you haven't. Smash that like button.